I understand that you have something from Sir Walter Scott.
I do. A different type of poem, but also a good one about manhood and honor and patriotism. And I'll shut up and let him talk for a bit. This is Breathes There the Man, from the Lay of the Last Minstrel, by Sir Walter Scott. Breathes there the man, with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, This is my own, my native land, whose heart hath ne'er within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned, from wandering on a foreign strand. If such there breathe, go, mark him well, for him no minstrel raptures swell. High though his titles, proud his name, boundless his wealth as wish can claim, despite those titles, power, and pelf, the wretch, concentred all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. So we ought to have pride in our country. And I think you could extend the meaning, well, I know you can extend the meaning of this poem to even things beyond your country in a right way. But we ought to love our country. And something is missing from us if we do not love our country or do not love the things that we ought to love, that are correct for us to love. Hence, breathes there the man with soul so dead. So his soul has died, or at least a part of it has died, because there is a place there for love of country. Even for us localist folks on this, or quasi-localist folks, or whatever we are on this podcast. No, there is a place for your native country. Like, that is something you should love and should have pride in. And if you do not, that part of your soul does die, because what else is going to fill it? Doom scrolling? He gets to some of the things that can fill it, and, well, they're not filling. Whose heart has ne'er within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned, from wandering on a foreign strand. I don't care how cool Paris is. I don't care how cool Rome is. I don't care how cool Scotland is. I'd really like to go there. I don't care how cool the Holy Land is. And those places are all beautiful and cool, and like, we should go visit them. Closer to home, I might think some other states are really cool. I might even think that they have advantages that mine doesn't have. Like Tennessee. Get taxed a lot less in Tennessee than you do in Minnesota. I don't care. If I went there and I really reveled in the fact that they were great and enjoyed, the great whiskey they have, I should come back to Minnesota and I should still have pride, because Minnesota is mine. It is my state.
And Missouri, and I think the same of Missouri.
Exactly.
And I'm grateful to my wife for making it hers.
Exactly. But just to return to this theme that, like, if all you did was for yourself, what a waste of life it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Your heart should burn within you. Your heart should be alive within you. Something's missing if it's not that. With regards to patriotism, or even the other things you're supposed to love, like family. And we're warned that for such people as don't do this, no minstrel raptures swell. So you're not sung of. You're not remembered. You were not worth remembering. You were not worth weeping for. You were not worth honoring, and you were not worth singing for. Because we only do that for the people that we love, and we only love the people that know how to love. So you had your man cave. You had your 401k. You had your very nice golf outings. I'm sure friends that like to golf with you. You had your activities. You had your sports on Sundays. You went to church because that was your job, right? Or maybe not your job. I mean, like, it's good. You maybe like it for more reasons, which is good, very good. But how much did you care about your fellow man? Did you play with your kids when they came to you to play and asked you, Daddy, can you play this with us? Were you kind to your fellow workers and to the people you're called to serve? And more to the point of the poem, did you care about your country? I'm broadening this out from patriotism, but I can't not include that. Did you care about your country? Did you wish the best for those in power? Did you pray for those who had been given the responsibility to lead? Were you ready to give your life for your community and your country if the time called for it in a just fashion? In a word, did you care? Or was it just a thing that was supposed to serve you? and all you wanted it to do was serve you and serve you and serve you and subsidize this and that. And yeah, that was the only purpose it had. You didn't care. What type of life would that be? A life not lived. A life without a soul, or with a soul that does not burn. Living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence he sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. I think all men want to be sung of. I think all men want their families to be proud of them, their communities to be proud of them. How do you get that? You don't get it by making all the money in the world and having the greatest house. You don't get it because of all your accomplishments, even if those accomplishments did benefit humanity. Not that those don't count for anything. They do. You get it by respecting the ragged jacket, as we talked about in our last poem. You get it by caring for your fellow neighbor and knowing and respecting them as such. And they in turn will respect you. And they in turn will sing for you. And they will honor you. And they will weep for you. And your country will do the same. Again, more to the point of the poem. So in short, all of this is a great way of saying, in giving we receive. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. One of the few times I'll quote a Democrat.
One of the only good Democrats.
That's what I got on that one. Be a good patriot. Be a good member of your state, of your city, of your country. Be a good member of your family. Be a good husband. Be a good father. Be a good wife. Be a good mother. And I will add some stuff here real quick. You know, some objections on the national side of this, right? Someone might say, I don't want to be proud of my country because my country's done a bunch of horrible things, or they just are doing things that I morally disagree with, whether they're horrible or not. I mean, they probably are if you think that, but or at least you think they are, but I can't bring myself to love that entity. I just suffer through it, and I'm living through it, but yeah, I don't love him. Well, if your father was doing horrible things, would you disown him as your father? There might be impediments to the love you have for him. You know, there might be things that he has to say sorry for, right? But would you stop loving him? Even if you would, I would hope that you'd recognize you're in the wrong for ceasing to love him, right? And if you were a father and your son was, well, not being the wisest individual in the world, let's just say he's the prodigal son but 10x'd for the sake of argument, would you stop loving him? Even if you were disappointed in him? Even if you were really sad? Even if you were like, I raised you, how could you do that? Even if you suffered through all of the insecurity of like, wait, I cannot have that associated with me. How did I cause that? No, you just wouldn't care, or you wouldn't let those thoughts in your mind. Or you deal with them because he's your son and you still love him. There's no other option. So don't disown your country. Try and make it better. Pray for your country. Pray for its leaders. And granted, you still have a responsibility to yourself and your family and trying to do what God wants of you. And maybe that means that all things considered, the right thing to do is move, right? Because there is a better opportunity elsewhere. America kind of became America because of that whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I did want to move to Tennessee for some reason because taxes. There's nothing to that, you know? Maybe there's a better political environment down there or something. There is a benefit to that, so I could go do that. And we're not tied down to any one place because this life is a pilgrimage anyway. But even then, I still can have love for the state where I was born. The place I was born. I should still honor and respect it, and will always have a place in my heart if I ever were to do that. And by the way, I'm not probably going to be doing that. But if I ever were, I still would have a place in my heart for Minnesota. And I would adopt Tennessee as my own in this case, and I would love it, and it would be mine.
I see you pointedly ignoring Missouri as a potential example of states that charge you way less in income tax.
If I wanted to be pointed about making an example of moving to a state because of the greater benefits, I would simply say that you should move to Minnesota so you can be closer to all the friends that care about you.
Or I can move to North Dakota so I can be both a little bit closer to all the friends that care about me, and also pay zero income tax to the state.
That is fair. But no, I didn't go there until you prompted it. Anyway, another good way of summing all this up is to quote Father Gregory Pine on a Pine Stick Aquinas episode. I love America because America's mine. And that applies to your state, that applies to your community, that applies to your family, that applies to all the things that you are supposed to love in life. You love them because they're yours, because they are gifts that have been given to you. Even if through human free will they've screwed it up in a variety of ways, guess what? You've done the same. They're yours. They're yours to love.
We are not called to despise anyone or anything.
So get on with the lovin'.
So I will say, well, as you were reading that, I drew some different but still similar points from it. For one thing, the man that does is the man who has the song sung of him, not the man who paid for the doing. Does history overall remember who the head of NASA was when Neil Armstrong stepped off the lander? No. Fourth graders are not taught that. Fourth graders are taught Neil Armstrong stepped off the Apollo lander and said, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." There are many who are unsung, but Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and that other guy whose name I forget.
Sam.
Because he was the third guy on the moon. It's one thing to be the first, it's one thing to be the second. Something entirely different to be the third guy on the moon. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who had the courage to step up and say, I will go to the moon. I will put my life on the line for this mission, so we can plant my nation's flag in space. Courage is what gets songs sung of you. Even if it is only by your son. You are remembered for courage and for virtue. At least you should be. There are negative reasons to be remembered, but you only have songs sung of you if you are a man of courage or virtue. They may only be sung by your children, and your grandchildren may completely forget you, but the songs will still be sung.
Yeah, well said. And it's a good point, because the singing ultimately doesn't matter. The honor, the weeping, it ultimately doesn't matter. What ultimately matters is, does your heart burn within you as it ought to? Is your soul alive as it ought to be? So it is good that the poem starts there.
And are your actions done out of love? Horatio stood at the bridge because he loved Rome, and he fought to protect it. And now we have a great and very, very long poem about him. Don Juan of Austria went to Lepanto because he loved his faith and he loved Christendom, and he would fight and die protecting it. And now we have one of the greatest poems ever written about him, about Don Juan of Austria riding to the sea.